Welcome to the Dr. Tim Jennings Show, where we seek real answers to life's real problems. I'm your host, Dr. Tim Jennings, here with my co-host, Lori Atkins.
Hi, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today. Today, we're going to be talking about the aging brain. And Dr. Jennings, you have a brand new book called The Aging Brain, Proven Steps to Prevent Dementia and Sharpen Your Mind. And we have a question from one of our listeners. Sabrina is asking, do you have a list of nutrients that the brain needs? Which I think is a great question because the alternative medicine supplement market is a multi-billion-dollar industry. There are tons of herbs and supplements and vitamins that are being sold over the counter. Is there anything that really works or something that works better than something else?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And I wanted to let the audience know, you're exactly right in what you say. Billions of things are sold over the counter, promoted this way and that way, but not all of it has actually good evidence to work.
Right.
Some of this stuff over the counter has actually been shown to do harm. But just because some stuff has been shown to do harm, does that mean that none of it has benefit? And the answer is no. There are some stuff, we're going to go over them here, some of the things that has good science behind it that really does have brain health promoting benefits. And that's what we want to do. We want to be able to filter through the chaff, filter through the noise to find the really good substantive stuff that can help our brains while leaving behind maybe the stuff that's either unproven yet or perhaps even could harm us.
Okay, well, I mean, that's something all of us want. All of our brains are aging, and we want to combat that with everything that's available to us. So give us some of the medications, the supplements that
not medications, not supplements.
Okay, supplements.
We're not going to talk meds because actually, since you brought that up, though, this is a good point. Let's talk about it. There is no medicine that I know of on the market that's been developed that actually slows the aging process and is actually healthy for the brain or reverses dementia or actually treats the underlying causes of dementia. Everything on the market that is even approved by the FDA for the treatment of dementia is merely treating the symptoms of the disease. It would be like somebody with a broken bone getting pain medicine for the pain. It treats the symptom pain, but it doesn't treat the bone. Or somebody with pneumonia getting Tylenol for fever. It's treating the symptom of fever, but it's not treating the pneumonia. Okay? All the medicines on the market that I know of thus far only treat the symptoms, and none of them show to really significantly alter the trajectory, the course of the disease dementia.
My dad was prescribed medication for dementia, and you're right, it was only treating the symptoms, hoping to slow down the progression, but there was no evidence for that.
And while we're on this, maybe we should clarify our audience as well. Dementia is a syndrome, a symptom syndrome in which you have memory impairments, plus the loss of one cognitive domain. Memory impairment plus loss of the ability to use your language normally.
Okay.
Memory impairment plus the loss of the ability to recognize normal objects. Loss of the ability to do simple motor tasks like tie your shoes and button your clothing. Things that were very easy to do. You've always been able to, you can't do it anymore. Or memory loss and loss of cognitive abilities like ability to problem solve, do math, balance your checkbook, organize your day for shopping, that kind of stuff. So if you have memory loss plus one of those other domain losses, that's dementia.
Okay.
Now, dementia can be caused by anything that damages your brain. So one cause is a disease known as Alzheimer's disease, and Alzheimer's disease will cause Alzheimer's dementia. But Parkinson's disease, different disease, can cause Parkinson's dementia.
Okay.
Vascular disease, which is blood vessel problems, you get little tiny strokes, can cause vascular dementia, and so forth. So dementia is the loss of abilities that I've just described. The diseases that damage the brain are the causes. People need to make that distinction. So what my book is about if you make the lifestyle changes that I've described in this book, you can actually avoid late onset Alzheimer's dementia, even if you have a family history of late onset Alzheimer's dementia.
Wow.
Yeah. And
so that's encouraging.
Yes, because late onset Alzheimer's dementia is really a result of chronic, slow damage happening in the brain through many, many choices we made through the years. Then if we make different choices, we can change the cellular cascade of events happening in our brain and body so that we won't get those. And the data actually shows people who have early changes. In other words, they're already starting to, they're not demented, but they're not quite as sharp. But we can measure they're not quite as sharp. If they do these changes, they won't progress to dementia. You can avoid it.
That's exciting.
Yes. Very exciting.
So share with us some, not medications, but there's foods, there's nutrients, there's supplements that actually do have some scientific evidence behind them, and they're shown to be beneficial to the brain. Share some of those with us.
So omega-3 fatty acids, which are long-chain fatty acids, primarily we get them in our diet today from fish
oil.
And these are oily fish,
Yeah.
like the salmon and the sardines and the mackerel. Okay, these oily fishes, when we get those, and there's 3 forms of omega-3s. There's short chain ALA, long chain DHA and EPA. The fish gives us the DHA and EPA.
Okay.
These are longer chained, and that's what our brain uses, DHA and EPA. Okay. People who have fish 2 to 3 times a week, the data shows they have a 50% reduction in their Alzheimer's disease risk over the next 4 years.
50%.
Even if they have the bad genes
Wow.
that give you higher risk of Alzheimer's dementia. Study of 9 years found that those with the highest DHA levels had a 47% reduction in developing Alzheimer's disease. A study of 1,100 women aged 70 at the beginning of the study, followed for 8 years. Those with the highest omega-3 levels at the beginning of the study had brains that were 2 cubic centimeters larger overall and had larger memory circuits called the hippocampus than those with the lowest omega-3s.
Literally larger brains.
Larger
Their brain
brains.
grew?
Well, no, their brains had stayed healthier, so they didn't have as much atrophy,
Shrinkage,
as much shrinkage as the ones who were not on the omega-3s, because the omega-3s concentrate in the membranes of the neurons, and they are anti-inflammatory, and they protect the neurons from oxidative stress and damage, and they enhance neural signaling. So omega-3s are extremely helpful.
And so these are not all fish. You said oily fish.
Right.
That's the only place we can get them from.
Well, not the only place.
Okay.
It's the primary place. Okay. There are some algae sources. In other words, some nutrition stores will have an algae source of the DHA EPA. But most of the plant sources of omega-3s, like flaxseed, people are very high on flaxseed. That flaxseed has no DHA and EPA. It has ALA, short chain omega-3s. And the body can only convert about 1% of that into DHA and maybe 8% into EPA. So we don't get a high conversion rate from the flaxseed. So flaxseed's not really a good substitute for fish oil.
Okay. Because isn't it believed that even the fish eating the algae is how they develop the long chain?
No, that they actually get it from the algae sources.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. So that's an option maybe for some vegetarians who...
That's correct.
Okay.
Vegans, basically.
Gotcha. Okay. What about, we hear a lot about trash in the ocean and mercury content in fish. Do we need to worry about getting high levels of mercury if we take lots of fish oil?
Well, some studies have looked at that, and the ones that I've seen show that while the people who ate more fish did have higher amounts of mercury, the mercury levels weren't high enough to actually cause any cognitive or memory problems.
Okay.
So it was measurably higher, but not functionally damaging. So a little bit higher, but not enough to cause harm, whereas they had significantly better memory, cognition, and lower rates of dementia if they had the fish than if they didn't have the fish.
So the benefit seems to outweigh
there was no measurable harm.
Right.
Okay, even though you can measure the increased amounts of mercury, but there's no measurable harm. And the ones who ate the fish had lower dementia. So the ones without the fish and the lower mercury had worse brains and more dementia.
Interesting. So what about any concerns? Are there warnings for people to be aware of about taking omega-3 fatty acids?
Omega-3 fatty acids are also blood thinners.
Okay.
So you can bruise more easily. If you're on blood thinning medications for various health reasons, and a lot of older folks are, they need to check with their doctors, let their doctors know if they're going to go to omega-3s because their bleeding times could be changed.
Sure.
So super high levels, and we don't want to eat super high levels, but these are levels like, say, the Inuit people in Alaska and so forth.
That are eating blubber?
Exactly. They have super high levels, and then they don't get what we call the ischemic stroke. An ischemic stroke is where you plug up an artery and you lose a blood clot and you shut off blood to the brain. That's the common strokes we get in this part of the country. They get what are called hemorrhagic strokes. They bleed out into the brain because their blood
is so thin.
Exactly. So we don't want to get super high doses of the omega-3s. Check with your doctor.
Gotcha. What about other foods? Are there any other foods that are beneficial to our brains?
So walnuts, something easy to do. Eat some walnuts every day.
Yeah.
Data shows that people who have walnuts regularly have healthier brains, healthier memory, healthier cognition, less rates of dementia than people that don't. Walnut extract prevents certain toxic proteins from building up in the brain, helps clear some of these toxic proteins out of the brain that are associated with Alzheimer's dementia. So it's something really easy to do. Some raw walnuts every day.
Interesting.
Yeah, or at least several times a week.
Yeah. So what about, I have heard a lot about coffee in the news lately. Are there benefits to drinking coffee? What does the science really say?
So New England Journal of Medicine study of 50,000 people followed for 13 years. So this is a robust study. Large number of people, followed for a long time, adjusted for a lot of factors, found that regular coffee consumption, caffeinated coffee consumption.
Okay.
Reduced all-cause mortality. All causes of death were less in the coffee drinking group than the non-coffee drinking group. And multiple other studies have been done that regular caffeinated coffee consumption reduces cardiovascular disease, strokes, cancers, diabetes type 2, Parkinson's disease, and Alzheimer's disease were all reduced if you drank regular caffeinated coffee. Decaf coffee had no benefit.
Isn't that interesting?
Caffeine in any other source other than green tea. Green tea is beneficial. We'll talk about green tea if you'd like in a moment. But caffeine in another source, like caffeine in sodas, caffeine pills, caffeine in any other source, no benefit and harm. But caffeine in coffee. What seems to be happening is that the coffee has antioxidant flavonoids that interact with the caffeine to reduce and prevent LDL from oxidizing and building up in the arteries and reducing amyloid buildup, which is a certain toxic protein in the brain. Moderate coffee drinkers had a reduction of Alzheimer's disease risk of 65%.
Wow.
65% reduction.
And what do you consider moderate coffee drinking?
Well, in the study, it was anywhere from 1 to 6 cups a day.
Oof.
Anywhere from 1 to 6 cups is considered moderate coffee drinking.
6 seems not moderate to me.
No. And so I could never drink that much. The coffee is anti-inflammatory, reduces inflammatory cytokines. There's a lot of benefits for us. The decaf coffee, though, again, didn't show these benefits.
Wow.
Now, I have to warn people, coffee should be not considered like, for instance, the walnuts. Unless you have a nut allergy, there's no downside to eating nuts. No risk, no harm. You can eat nuts without worry. Okay. Caffeine is not like that. The caffeinated coffee is not like that. There are certain conditions that could be worsened with a caffeinated coffee. One of the requirements for a healthy brain is regular sleep. Caffeine can interfere with sleep. If you're not getting regular sleep, then it doesn't matter any benefit from caffeine. The lack of sleep is going to cause you significant problems, and it's going to increase your risk of dementia. So if you can't sleep with whatever level of coffee you're drinking, then you need to cut the coffee out.
Gotcha.
If you have vascular diseases, Raynaud's disease, macular degeneration, the vasoconstriction from the caffeine can worsen those diseases, so you may not be able to use those. Caffeine lowers seizure threshold, meaning it's more easy to have a seizure with caffeine than without caffeine. So if you have a seizure disorder and it's not well managed and you're having relapses with seizures, then you might not do well on caffeine.
Gotcha.
So caffeine has consequences, needs to be considered more of a medicinal. Some people drinking the coffee, caffeinated coffee, and we're talking black coffee, not full of sugar, or lots of creamers and stuff like that. Those cause problems. Okay.
Yep.
But if you're one of those people with these health problems, you might not be able to benefit from it. But other people perhaps could benefit from it. So it's not a black or white issue. You have to use a little judition.
Okay.
So when we come back from our break, we'll pick up with some more tips.
Hi, welcome back to the Dr. Tim Jennings Show. Today we are talking about the aging brain, and we are getting some information from Dr. Jennings from his new book called The Aging Brain, Proven Steps to Prevent Dementia and Sharpen Your Mind. And we were talking about some foods, some supplements, some nutrients that are actually beneficial for our brain and help prevent dementia. Dr. Jennings, you were just talking about some of the benefits science is showing from caffeinated coffee, moderate caffeinated coffee drinking, and really green tea, you said, was the only other method of caffeine delivery that actually proves to be beneficial. So tell us a little bit about green tea.
Well, before I come back to green tea, I want to mention about the sweeteners.
Okay.
Artificial sweeteners increase your risk of dementia.
All of them?
All of them.
Wow.
Okay, so
even the all-natural Splenda?
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah, all the artificial sweeteners that I've looked at and I've seen in the research increase your risk of dementia. The data shows on the caffeinated coffee that if you had an overall low sugar diet, you don't have a high, typical American high fat, high sugar diet, but you might have 1 or 2 teaspoons of sugar in a coffee each day, but that's about all the sugar you're really getting and not really excessive, that didn't increase your risk of dementia problems. A little bit, a little sugar. So a little sugar in a coffee is okay, but a little artificial sweetener in your coffee every day increase your risk of dementia.
Wow.
So it's better to have the little bit of the sugar than it is, but what I actually use when I have a coffee is maple syrup.
Okay.
Is my sweetener. And there's actually some data that shows that maple syrup reduces your risk of Alzheimer's dementia.
This is pure maple syrup.
Pure 100% pure
not
maple
Aunt
syrup.
Jemima.
No, not some of these other types of other substances.
Yeah.
But no, pure 100% pure maple syrup. So there's the data that suggests that it may. So if you need that, I would maybe lean that direction.
Interesting. Okay, what about vitamin E? I hear conflicting information.
Well, we didn't talk about green tea yet.
Oh, green tea. Go back to green tea.
We have to finish about green tea.
Yes.
So you asked me about green tea. I just want to mention that about the sweeteners because I think people want to be clarified about that. But green tea, not black tea, has been shown, and this is very interesting, in all population groups, whether it people with no dementia at all, people with early cognitive changes but not demented, people with dementia, in all groups, green tea enhances cognition and memory.
Wow.
In all groups. Additionally, green tea reduces your risk of dementia. It's got a lot of flavonoids, antioxidants, it slows the inflammatory cascades, so it actually has preventative benefits to it. And green tea, in functional scans of your brain, have shown that when you drink green tea, it actually enhances connectivity from your prefrontal cortex to the other brain regions, so your cognitions and mental processing speeds up.
Wow.
So green tea's got lots of benefits. It also clears the amyloid protein, this toxic protein, out of your brain. So a lot of good things from green tea. Again, though, artificial sweeteners, don't use them.
I feel like I should maybe bathe in green tea or put in an IV.
I can tell you, I drink some green tea sometimes, and I can really tell the difference.
Wow.
And I've had some of my patients that started using it, and they tell me they can tell they're cognitively sharper, they're more on. It enhances neural connectivity, so you should give it a try.
I'm on it. Okay, now let's talk about vitamin E. I see conflicting information on vitamin E as to whether it's helpful or harmful, what dosage.
Yes, and so in news reports over the last 10, 15 years, you've seen, the doctors show vitamin E, if you take vitamin supplements, reduce your heart disease risk, and then boom, vitamin E, that's actually increasing heart disease risk, blah, blah, blah. And so when you break it down, the studies break down into 2 groups. Those studies done on artificial supplements, vitamin E, versus those studies done with vitamin E through food sources. In nature, vitamin E has 8 different isomeric forms. Okay. In the supplements, you're getting 1 to 2, maybe 3 of those forms. In the food sources, you're getting all 8. The ones from the supplements, they're the studies that show harm. The ones from the food studies, where you get all 8, show benefit. And so evidently, the body does not like a vitamin E imbalance of isomers. So if you get vitamin E from food sources, it's antioxidant in nature. What happens is the vitamin E will concentrate in the lipid. It's fatty soluble, so it concentrates where the fats are, and the fats are in the lipid membranes of your neurons, and the vitamin E concentrates there with your DHA and EPA omega-3s, and it's scavenging up these free radicals that would damage your neurons. So it's kind of like a shield on your neuron. As things try to get inside your neurons, the vitamin E will be there to try and protect, and knocking those things out and protecting if you got good vitamin E levels. And then sources in your food of vitamin E would be things like sunflower seed and almonds and spinach and safflower oil and pumpkins and red peppers. And so there's many things in your diet you can do regularly that can get vitamin E into your diet.
I would think that that's probably across the board. If we can get these supplements and nutrients from foods, it's got to be better than taking a pill.
Yes, and back to the omega-3 question we talked about earlier. The data showed that you had more robust positive outcomes if you got your omega-3s from eating fish than from taking an omega-3 supplement. So there's something about the oil coming from the fish that is better for us, and we don't fully understand all these dynamics yet.
Right. Okay, what about, I'm seeing a lot in the news also about curcumin, which is the yellow spice that's extracted from turmeric. What are some benefits of that? I'm hearing that it's anti-inflammatory.
That is true. And curcumin is this Indian spice. It's yellow, and it is anti-inflammatory. In the science related to the brain, it's been shown that it actually stereotactically binds to this amyloid protein that can build up in the brain and is part of the pathological cascade of Alzheimer's disease. It binds to it and helps remove that from the brain, so that's one good thing. It also binds to iron and copper, and when neurons die, neurons leave behind little trace amounts of iron and copper.
Okay.
And the iron and copper that is left behind by the neurons when they die can become toxic and damage more neurons, so we need to get that out of the brain. Amyloid protein is one way, but the curcumin can also bind and take it out of the brain. It's a free radical scavenger. The data shows, though, that the curcumin does not benefit people who already have dementia. Unlike the green tea, the green tea helped them have better memory, better cognition, whether you have dementia or not.
Yeah.
Okay. The curcumin, no benefit if you already have dementia. So the curcumin's benefit is going to be in prevention from ever getting dementia in the first place by helping reduce the inflammatory cascades that cause the neuronal damage that lead to the Alzheimer's dementia.
Okay.
But there's something you have to know about the curcumin.
Okay.
Your body will only absorb the curcumin if you eat it or take it in conjunction with black pepper.
Wow.
If you don't take curcumin with black pepper, then you're not getting any into your body.
Interesting.
Black pepper increases the absorption, I think, 3,000%.
The last curcumin supplement I bought actually was packaged with black pepper in the pill.
Yes, and that's how they're packaging it because the science is so strong on this. Some other supplements that I want to kind of mention here today, or should I say substances that we can take necessarily, pomegranate juice.
Ooh.
100% pomegranate juice has been shown in animal studies to help remove this toxic protein out of the brain. They took these animals, they were cloned animals, so they're genetically identical, and they were genetically bred or cloned to deposit high amounts of amyloid protein, this toxic protein in the brain. They randomized them to 2 groups. Each group got the same diet, except the one group had the human equivalent of 8 ounces of pomegranate juice a day. They did brain biopsies on the animals before the study started, and then at the end of the study, like 8 weeks later. Not surprisingly, the group without the pomegranate juice had more amyloid in their protein at the end than in the beginning. But the group with the pomegranate juice not only didn't have more, they had 50% less amyloid than when the study began.
When they started.
And so the pomegranate juice, something very simple, really no danger, no harms in this. Drink pomegranate juice every day, have high in polyphenols, high in anti-inflammatory, can help reduce and pull this amyloid buildup potentially out of the brain and help reduce your risk of dementia.
Interesting. Is it only juice? Can you eat pomegranate?
No, eating pomegranates would be perfectly fine to do. They're a little cumbersome to do, but sure, eating pomegranates regularly would have the same benefit. Yeah, it's not just the juice. The juice is coming from the pomegranate,
Okay.
And is pomegranate juice the only juice? Well, it seems to be the one that's best studied. Other juices haven't necessarily shown that. For instance, apple juice, while apples can be healthy because of the pectin and stuff, but if you're getting just the juice, it doesn't seem to have this, at least dementia protection. I haven't seen any data on that. So you're wanting juices, really, the goal here is to reduce inflammation in the body. So foods that are high in polyphenols. Another one, anything with beta carotene. Foods with color, berries, strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, carrots. Okay. One study shows that people who have a lot of beta carotene carrots in their diet actually enhance the length of their telomeres, the end of the caps on their chromosomes, which allow neurons to reproduce, and it slows the aging process, and they have less dementia if they do that regularly.
Interesting.
So these are very simple things people can do.
Okay, what about, we talked about artificial sweeteners as being harmful, something we should avoid. What are some other substances that we want to stay away from?
High fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup shows to be 10 times more oxidizing than sugar, which means if you want to have a soda once in a while, you should try to get the throwback sodas that are made with sugar cane sugar. On an oxidizing, not on a how many calories am I taking into my body perspective, but on an oxidizing level into your body, you basically could have 10 of the sugar ones for one of the high fructose corn syrup ones. So high fructose corn syrup is very oxidizing. Genetically modified foods, maybe we should talk about genetically modified foods. It's very interesting. What we know is when you eat foods, you not only absorb the carbohydrates, the proteins, and the fats, you also absorb the genetic material of the food you eat. Their nuclei, their DNA is in the food you're eating, whether it's plant food or animal food, it's there. The question that people have had is, well, we know the proteins, you're absorbing those, you know they're having an effect, and the fats are having an effect, and the carbs, what about that genetic material? Is it having an effect? Well, in our DNA, it's not just the DNA sequences that you have that matter. It matters how the DNA is being expressed, which genes in your body are turned on, which genes in your body are turned off.
Okay.
And that is called epigenetics. It's the sequence of instructions sitting above the actual chromosome, the gene material itself, telling them how to turn on and how to turn off. What the science has now shown us is that the foods that we eat, when we absorb the genetic material from that food, at least some of the foods, that genetic material can epigenetically alter how our genes are being expressed.
Wow.
Study done in China of Chinese people who eat a lot of rice found that strands of RNA, which is genetic material from the rice, epigenetically altered the genes that control the enzymes in our liver that metabolize LDL cholesterol.
Wow.
And thus, human LDL cholesterol levels were altered on a genetic expression basis on how we metabolize it because of the food that's being eaten.
Interesting.
Now, no research that I know of anywhere has been done on the potential epigenetic impact of genetically modified foods.
Yeah.
Are they altering our gene expression, altering our metabolism? Are they contributing? Now, in my book, I give some studies that show that genetically modified foods increase obesity in animals. Whether that obesity is from getting the genetically modified food directly, because they're eating the corn that's genetically modified, or they're eating the fish who ate the corn.
Yes.
And then eating the fish causes the increase in obesity. I think there may be a significant correlation and relationship between genetically modified foods, and someday we're going to probably find this, that's genetically modifying our gene expression that's contributing to the high rates of obesity in America. We have genetically modified foods. Less obesity in Europe. They don't have genetically modified foods there.
They're not allowed.
And so, the industry wants everybody to believe that it's completely safe. I'm not, so far, they haven't proven that to me.
You're not convinced.
Okay, there's evidence to raise the flag of concern. And I would say if you're a consumer, go to your supermarket, tell your supermarket managers that you want foods clearly identified that are non-GMO foods so that you can select those when you do your shopping.
Right. Really important tips. If you want more information on Dr. Jennings' new book, The Aging Brain, or want to get the tips that we've gone over on the show today, visit our website at timjenningsmd.com. I hope you'll join us next time on the Dr. Tim Jennings Show.